And here with her analysis is Star Parker, president and founder of CURE, the Center for Urban Renewal and Education, a public policy institute based here in Washington. Star, welcome back. We hear a lot about the need for gun control. How do we protect the Second Amendment and at the same time stop the mass shootings that we've seen?
Well, the first thing we do is we take a deep breath and we take the emotion out of it as much as we can. People are hurting. These crimes affect all of us because when you think about our Second Amendment protections and then you have people that are disconnected that keep doing this type of terror against their neighbors is alarming. But the first thing we want to do is not become reactionary and not just throw situational ethics legislation together. So to your question, what do we do? How do we protect the second, which is there to protect the first? So we make sure that we understand the Constitution and why we have that protection there in the first place. All data shows that the majority of gun owners in our country own to protect themselves. This is a protection of ourselves. It's not about hunting. It's not about assault. It's about protection, not just from those that might violate us, but also from our government. This is one of the reasons that that's there. So we want to make sure that that is understood in our society. But now we also have to look at what has happened that we have so many of these incidents. Data is showing us that family and faith play a very, very key role in helping people self-govern. What we're looking at in most of these cases, in fact, of all of these cases, are disconnected young men who do not have a sense of family or belonging. And these attacks against the church should be in this discussion to say maybe there is a real role for God and God's people. When you don't believe in God and eternity, it's very easy to get lost and to start doing damage to your neighbor.
What do you think people as faith, people in churches can do about this? Because we have so many people who are not going to church anymore, who don't want to participate in that. How do we encourage people to do that, not only participate in church, but in our communities?
Well, that's the number one area that we should be concerned about as the body of Christ, as the church, is are we evangelizing our neighbors? Are we letting people know about the Lord? Are we letting them know that they're not alone in their lives? Are we inviting them to church? Most people go to church because they're invited. And we've lost that sense that we can actually influence our neighbor, that we can be there in their time of need and their comfort. To live in a community to where everybody drives in their garage and then there's just no interaction between each other, fuels some of this damage that we have. So we have to have that discussion. It's not just about gun law and gun control. That's going to be a violent discussion in our society because we have over 300 million guns in our society. And to try to confiscate them would be a real struggle. But we can address faith and we can address the breakdown in family.
Well, going back to that point, though, about background checks and gun control, though, because we're talking so much about this at a federal level, do you think it's better addressed perhaps at a state level? Because we seem to only be talking about one potential solution here.
Well, it is to be discussed in the states and even more local in the communities where everybody is watching each other. You see something, say something approach that we now hear often as a slogan since 9/11. But anywhere that you do it, whether it's state or local, it cannot violate the Constitution. So what we have to do on a local level is say, are we being community? Are we being neighborly? What kind of laws do we have in place that help us interact? One of the challenges that we have now is this big dependency on government that gets people isolated. They're not connected to community and family anymore because they can live off of Uncle Sam. So that is another part of it that we must talk about. People are talking about mental, but let's think about it. Even in mental depression, when you have a real deep relationship with God and you understand eternity, we can solve some of these problems. So I think the first order of business on a local level is appreciation of the role of religion in one's personal lives.
So many important issues here that we could potentially talk about even more if we had time, Star, but no doubt that this national debate on the issue will be brought up, of course, as we approach the 2020 elections. Star Parker, president and founder of the Center for Urban Renewal and Education, thanks so much for coming in today.
You're welcome. Thank you.